You want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
You can't handle the truth!
Well, we're giving you the Michigan Sports Truth, the show that reveals facts, truth, research, and statistics and never messes around. With your hosts, Taylor Phillips, Ed Smith, Frank Vashner, and Buck Gino. We lay down the entire truth about everything regarding your Detroit and Michigan sports teams, no matter how uncomfortable they may be. No junk, no entertainment, no homerism, no coddling, no pop culture, no opinions, no shilling, and no fluff. Follow me, Taylor Phillips, on Twitter at DT2Phillips with 2 L's. Follow Ed Smith on Twitter at EdSmith313. Follow Frank Vashner at Frank_Vashner, VAJCNER. And follow Buck Gino on Twitter at BuckGino3rd. Also like our Facebook page, The Michigan Sports Truth, and join our Facebook group with the same name. The hosts of the Michigan Sports Truth podcast do not take any suggestions or criticism from any member of its audience on how it should be run. It is up to the host to decide what they want to cover. They also do not intend to be any amount of popular in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Additionally, the views of the audience, right or wrong, do not reflect the actual truth revealed on this program.
And welcome to episode 282 of the Week in Review on Spreaker. Taylor Phillips with Ed Smith. Ed, we don't have much to recap, but we sure have plenty to preview in terms of football. And then we got Red Wings and Tigers to discuss. Ed, how was your week?
It was quite okay, to say the least. I was able to catch the Canelo versus Golovkin Super Fight on this past Saturday. I thought Golovkin had won, but I can understand why it was a draw. I can't understand that 8-1, 18-1, 10 score for Canelo is absolutely atrocious. So they'll get the rematch going. We'll see how it goes from there. Other than that, I was at least able to enjoy watching the best, and good job done. So why don't we go into that, shall we?
Yeah, let's do that. We're going to start off with the Michigan Wolverines.
Touchdown, Michigan!
They were ranked 7th. They played Air Force, and their offense continued to struggle. There was a field goal contest in the first half, and then the touchdowns started to emerge a little bit. It was a low-scoring game nonetheless. 29-13, Michigan won. But Wilton Speight had a lot of trouble, especially in the first half, trying to get the ball into the house with his offense. But the defense stood tall again. Other than that 64-yard touchdown pass to Cleveland.
Yeah, I think you can attribute that pass to them, being basically falling for the fake only one time, because it seemed evident that they were going to try all avenues possible to take away the pass and force Air Force to try and beat them with arguably what is their best strength, is their rushing attack, the triple option game. And while it garnered them, like I said, over 150 yards total offense, total rushing offense, that was their only method of moving the ball. They couldn't pass the ball. I think it was only one officially completed pass the whole game for Air Force, and that was that 64-yard TD strike on a play-action pass. So other than that, the Michigan defense knew they were doing. They enforced their game plan, and they made Air Force completely one-dimensional, and they neutralized that triple option game and played a big part in them winning this game. As for the offense, if there's one thing I can say is that they've got to finish in the red zone, period. That is the one thing that is killing them the big time already. Even though, yes, they are 3-0 now, you could argue that, one play goes here or whatever, we're maybe looking at a different scenario. So for Michigan, it's very important that for these upcoming few games, especially as we lead up to Penn State, they got to start finishing in the red zone. Otherwise, it may not be pretty.
May not be a pretty season for the Michigan Wolverines, that would be. For Devin Bush, 4 sacks in 3 games thus far this year. His teammates are telling the media the best is yet to come for him yet. But Devin Bush has done pretty good thus far.
I can certainly believe that because his speed is quite incredible to look at. The way he just flies at the ball almost every given down, every given snap. Sometimes his aggression can be a little bit too costly, with that targeting penalty he almost got called for against Florida. That comes to mind. But still, he's willing to take that risk because of what he brings, his energy and his pace. It finds a way. He's one key player that the defense needs at all times, and having him on the floor, having him on the field increases, the team's chance of winning every single play on the defensive side of things. Sure.
Prior to the Air Force game, the Wolverines lose freshman defensive end Donovan Jeter. He underwent season-ending surgery. Can you analyze that?
Yeah, basically it's a situation where it is an injury to the defense. It is a little bit of a blow to the defensive line for Michigan, whereas I think he has a tore MCL or ACL, so he has to undergo surgery. So obviously his season is done. I believe he will be back next year. I don't think he has a senior or even a redshirt on him, where it will be prevented from coming back next year, whatever the case may be. Reminds me, by the way, quick segue, Tariq Black, the White House has been getting some attention in the past couple of weeks. He injured his foot. I think Harbaugh said it was a crack in his foot.
Oh.
Exactly. So it's a big blow to the offense. So I believe he had surgery early on Monday or so. So he will be out for some time. Don't know if he's for the rest of the season or not, but it is a blow to the Michigan offense. And
doesn't look good.
Yeah, and by the way, quick note on that, it was, I think they're going to try to apply since he didn't complete the third full game of him playing this season, I think he's still eligible for the red shirt to be enacted or enabled so that he can sit out the rest of this year and be, like I said, be granted his red shirt status for next year. So that's one thing to look forward to on that. And as for Donovan Jeter, injuries hurt no matter what, but seeing how this defensive line has looked so far, it may be a minor footnote as to how they perform overall this season.
Yeah, better safe than sorry. The Wolverines have lost quite a few players due to injury, out for the rest of the season. That's just like the Lions losing Brandon Copeland and Kerry Hyder and Jordan Hill. And we'll get to the Lions a bit later on in this episode. But the Wolverines went back down to ranking 8th in the nation after being ranked 7th prior to the Air Force game. They are now 8th again, going into West Lafayette at Purdue at 4 on Fox. And we're going to predict that in our college football in the Mitten quick picks. The Western Michigan Broncos fell behind 14-3 and trailed 14-6 at halftime, but came back with 31 points in the second half and beat the Idaho Vandals 37-28. They had a lot of trouble, just like the Michigan Wolverines in the first half. The Western Michigan Broncos had trouble putting points on the board. They're gonna host Wagner this Saturday. That's definitely going to be a much easier game. The Idaho Vandals we couldn't quite count out, but Wagner, now we're hearing. I guess I've almost never heard of that school, but it's going to be an inevitable pick going into the college football in the Mitten Quicks. And then my Central Michigan Chippewas.
Touchdown, Central Michigan!
Slugged it out in the first half, but they were awful in the third quarter, very awful, and they gave up a total of 31 unanswered points, starting late in the second quarter with that pick six thrown by Shane Morris. And the third quarter, man, it was a flurry of Syracuse Orangemen touchdowns, and then no scoring in the fourth. 41-17 Orangemen win at Syracuse at the Carrier Dome. Chippewas have even a lot more work to do going back home to Kelly Short Stadium against the Miami, Ohio Redhawks. That said, it's time for the college football in the Mitten quick picks. Number 8, Michigan at Purdue at 4 on Fox. I have Michigan winning 20-14. The way the offense has been struggling at through the first 3 games against two of which were at home against almost easy teams, but Wilton Spate just can't manage his offense to try to finish in the red zone, like you pointed out. I think they're going to I think that's going to continue as they head on the road to West Lafayette, but their defense is still going to bail them out. I'd measure 20-14.
That's a score I think you're on to someone that's kind of score, Taylor, because I'm looking at ESPN. The spread for Michigan is plus 10 Michigan, and I think it's a little bit too high. Not only how Michigan has played, but B, Purdue themselves, they are 2-1, so I think they garner at least a little bit of respect. Jim Harbaugh certainly given them that type of respect for at least from what I'm seeing in the pregame press conference. So, and also not to mention, this is a team that if you look at the numbers on paper, they almost look like mirror images for Purdue, edging out a little bit better in key stats. For instance, Michigan's averaging 32, almost 33 points per game. Purdue over 35, almost 36 points per game. Michigan just over 400 yards total offensive 402. Purdue almost 460 yards total offense average. With key efficiency in the passing game being the major factor. Now, the one drawback, again, that could work to Michigan's favor is the terms of total yards allowed per defense. Michigan's at 208, Purdue is at 374. So depending on how you look at it, that could work in Michigan's advantage as to either their defense for sure will keep them in the game, but can their offense sustain enough breaks or make enough big plays to get them the points that they need to win this game. So for my money, for my bet, I'm going to say Michigan wins. It will be a close one. I'm thinking the score will be 23-20.
Oh, man, about as close as mine, huh? All right.
Yeah.
So Michigan State and Eastern Michigan, the Spartans and Eagles had their bye week. State plays Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish. I believe the Irish were ranked 24th the last I saw going into this matchup. 8 o'clock on Fox. A lot of people have picked Notre Dame to win this one. I'm guessing 35-21.
So you're going with Notre Dame as well?
Yeah. Yeah, Notre Dame's going to be a tough team. Michigan State's still on a learning process after their 3-9 season last year.
I'm more line of thinking Notre Dame wins, but I think the score will be as close as possible. Notre Dame is a -4 favorite. I think MSU, they're going to be, I'll take the points. MSU will cover, but Notre Dame will win. So we're talking like a 1 or 2 score game, at least a field goal type of game, type of score, which will be the difference in this game, in my opinion. But Notre Dame will get the job done.
What would your exact score be? Like 30-something?
I'm sorry?
Yeah, the exact score. How many points would Notre Dame get, and how many points for MSU?
These kind of games, they usually end up in high scores. Let's go 34-31.
All right.
Expect a lot of rushing yards to be gained either way. Both teams love to run the football. They've been efficient at it so far. So look out for that to be the key. Whoever runs the ball best will have the best chance of winning the game.
Mm-hmm. Then we got Wagner at Western Michigan, 7 o'clock. Western wins big, in my view, 42-7.
no question. I think Western has a much better, easier, breezier type of game this week. So they'll get it done. Let's go 38-10.
All right. Broncos have some time to redevelop. Then we have the Miami, Ohio Redhawks at the Central Michigan Chippewas. The ESPN predictor, very damn close. 50.3 to 49.7 percentage in favor of the Redhawks. But CMU, the Chippewas, they're back home at Kelly Short Stadium. I have, I think I have, Miami, Ohio is ranked 1 and 2, and CMU is ranked 2 and 1. They are coming off a 41-17 devastating loss at the Syracuse Orangemen. They committed way too many mistakes, and especially in that third quarter. They really need to clean that up. I think they have their home field instead of that loud Carrier Dome crowd. They have their home field to support them, but they got to cut back on the errors. I still think they'll beat Miami, Ohio. The Redhawks aren't too good of a team. I think the Chippewas will win by a close one, hanging on for dear life, 28-25 in Mount Pleasant. Ed?
Yeah, I see this coming down to the wire pretty much. Central, even though they're 2 and 1, and Miami is 1 and 2, this is not a gimme by any stretch of the means. Central's giving is a +2 favorite, or excuse me, I should say a -2 favorite. So let's see. I think Central wins. I think it comes down to that very, very margin, but I think the score will be along the lines of, let's say 38-36. Just let's go for a wacky score, because I'm expecting a crazy game in this matchup.
Maybe, yeah. We'll see how CMU's defense is able to handle the Redhawks' offense. Then we have the Ohio Bobcats at the Eastern Michigan Eagles at 2 o'clock. And the ESPN predictor is very close in that matchup, too. It's about 50-50, just like Miami, Ohio, and CMU. Eastern's back home after their bye week. They're coming off a 16-13 win at Rutgers. I would say Eastern wins it 23-20 in overtime.
I won't expect this to go to OT, but I think Eastern, they'll start slow. They'll be off of that hangover of getting that Rutgers win. But eventually they'll pick it up and they'll win a close one, let's say 24-17 at the end.
Okay, by a touchdown in regulation. So that's the college football and the Mitten quick picks for week 4 and the recap of week 3. Now let's transition to pro football.
Touchdown, Detroit Lions!
The Lions, last Monday night this week, got a 24-10 win at the New York Giants.
I love it!
Eli Manning got sacked 5 times. Lions defensive front, they showed up, especially Ziggy Ansah. He was a beast on the defensive front. And then Jamal Agnew, early in the fourth quarter, 88-yard touchdown punt return to make it a 2-score game again.
Holy jumping!
Stafford with 2 touchdown passes. Eli Manning was pretty much awful, and so was the offensive line. The Giants only scored 1 touchdown. Their first in 5 quarters, but that was the only touchdown they would score in that game. The Giants fans were really antsy and pissed off, and the Lions defense took advantage. Their offense along with their special teams, Jamal Agnew, of all people, 88-yard touchdown punt return. My God. All took advantage, and they got the win, 24-10. And the Giants shown ineptitude, kept dropping passes. They dropped too many passes. One of which was almost complete, but still short on 4th down and 10 on one of the last 2 drives in the game for the Giants. Almost in the red zone. And he was wide open, too. Oh, my God. And Darius Slay doing his thing at cornerback. Man. Ed, what say you on that?
Basically, first I want to start with how good a job the defense was doing. Whether it was getting pressure on Eli Manning, I figured that was one of their keys to victory. Seeing as how the Cowboys they were to do the same thing, could the Lions replicate that to its better fortune? And they did, without question. They got 5 sacks, all those without requiring sending extra rushers on a blitz, all using their front 4. Ziggy Ansah had 3 of those. He's already got more than he had last year. Given him being limited with injury, but still, that proves your point. That proves the point where he is near or at 100% full capacity and full health. He is one of the best DNs, or one of the best pass rushers in the league, bar none. So seeing him take advantage of the very formidable, advantageous matchup for him against Eric Flowers, the left tackle, who should be a right tackle, but the Giants insist upon at Eli's blind side. Ziggy ate that matchup up all night and got to Eli like it was nothing. As for Eli, I was expecting to see a derp turnover or 2. I thought I was getting 2 with the fumble, but it got called back because the knee was down. But he did not disappoint. After Stafford's on fumble, Eli was right on cue through the interception. Lions took advantage of that, scored the touchdown. As for Stafford, him continuously showing the evolution of his game, being more vocal on the sidelines, taking a more broader leadership approach, and using his legs and his feet to get himself out of play, scramble more, sidestep, shutter step a little bit, extending the plays. Not exactly Aaron Rodgers, but in his own unique way. And it's made him a much more multi-versatile player, in my view, where, now often if you see Stafford scrambling, you might want to cheat up a little bit. That's going to leave open an open route down the middle of the field. So Stafford, it's good that Stafford has added that to his game now. Makes him much more complete, much more multifaceted. So there's that. And also, since we're going to mention this, especially as much of a team win as anything, what we saw on defense, what we saw on offense, and of course what we saw on special teams. Special teams mainly with Jamal Agnew punt return was quite incredible, using his quickness, his movement, sheer momentum of not keeping his legs moving, and also bad tackling by the Giants, and it enabled that. But still, it was always nice to see a good punt return for a touchdown or a big game go, and don't see a flag call it back. So it was always nice to see. And back on the defense real quick, I will say, in addition to getting after Eli, they managed to make sure to limit Odell Beckham as much as possible. Granted, he was still not 100% with that injury he was dealing with, but still, just him being on the field was going to create some type of, with some type of influence that could hype up the crowd. The Lions defense took that out immediately. They limited him to about 3 catches for 34 yards. So they took him out of the play, and Darius Slay, like you mentioned before, the plays he was making, he made 2 key plays, pass breakups on one of the last defensive plays, drives of the game to help seal it. And that's another thing that really I like to see as well. It wasn't the offense needing to solve the game away. It was the defense with getting turnovers on downs, getting stops, making plays and pass breakups whatever way possible. That impressed me the most. And also for the Lions themselves, how about this? As a team, they got over 100 yards rushing. Amir Abdullah with 86 of those yards. I hope he's feeling okay. Hope he didn't re-injure himself again near the end of the game. But it was quite nice to see, the beefed up right side of Wagner and Lane being put to work, and a little bit of mid-game adjustment either by Caldwell or Jim Bob Kudak. I give one of those guys credit because one of them came up with the idea. Instead of trying to design run plays to the left, which didn't work out most of the time. They designed more and more plays to the right side, which is obviously their strongest side with Wagner and Lang in the second half more, and led to more success, i.e. Amir Abdullah getting that big first down run to help milk the clock, and then Theo Riddick getting that other first down to seal it with about 2 minutes left to go. So it was a nice sense of adjustment. So like I said, all-around team win from offense to defense, special teams, and even some of the coaching on the sidelines, the adjustments, letting Caldwell know, hey, you got to challenge that spot. The dress trying to screw us. All around, good effort. But unfortunately, it's going to get lost in the structure of how bad the Giants look because they're in New York, they got Odell Beckham and Eli Manning, all that. The media's got to pay attention to that more, unless, instead of, in my opinion, focusing just giving a little bit of credit to what good of a job the Lions did. But that's just my view.
Back to Stafford here. You mentioned taking leadership of the team, studying the defense well, adding all these to his game. That's part of how you earn your contract money, your record-setting contract money.
Exactly. I mean, for instance, with now this is going to be the part where some will probably poo-poo this a little bit because the Giants were dealing with some injuries, namely on the defensive side of things. And that's going to be out. B.J. Goodson, the starting linebacker, and of course their star corner, Janoris Jenkins, a.k.a. Jackrabbit. He was out of the game. He was inactive. So Eli Apple, the rookie, had to step in his. Well, was not a rookie, but he was a young player. Had to step in his place, and Stafford and the Marvin Jones.
Mm-hmm. So the Lions play two bad teams, especially the Giants. They improved to 2-0. They've got the Falcons up next Sunday at 1 on Fox. And let's start with the ESPN matchup predictor, 50.6 to 49.0. Atlanta with a 0.4% chance of a tie. Both the Falcons and Lions are 2-0, of course. The Falcons got an easy win over the Green Bay Packers. Let me check that score real quick. I didn't see the rest of the game. 34-23.
Yep.
They got 23-17 win at the Bears. The Bears 0-2, but looked like that Bears game looked like a pretty close one for the Falcons. And then Falcons had a decent half. The Packers tried to come back, but fell 11 points short. The Packers are definitely not as bad as the Bears. Still favorites to win the NFC North, of course. But the Falcons, they've got Brian Hill, Courtney Upshaw, Ryan Schrader, and Vic Beasley Jr. on the injury report. Hill inactive, Upshaw and Beasley Jr. questionable. Schrader, offensive tackle, out. Zach Zenner, Jared Abbrederis, Tion Green, and Tease Tabor at cornerback, all inactive. Jared Davis, questionable at linebacker. Jared Davis left the game, went into the locker room. I think he suffered a mild concussion, went under concussion protocol as far as I'm concerned. I saw that last night.
He was at least put into concussion protocols after probably some would view a cheap shot by Odell Beckham that wasn't called for a flag.
Yeah. And that's unfortunate there. I'd say better safe than sorry, though, as much as we need him.
Mm-hmm. I'm willing to agree with you on that. This is literally his rookie year. You don't want to, scramble him up this early at this brutal of a fashion. I think if it comes down to it, give him the week off, protect him at all costs, and see how it goes from there. It was nice to see him walk out under his own power on Monday night, but I think they should take this process as gingerly as possible.
Yep, and the Falcons, a minus 3.0 underdog at 77%. The spread consensus pick tells us. the spread is 3 points. The money line, Falcons at minus 150. The Lions 100 plus 130. The over/under is 50. The Lions have allowed just 53.5 rushing yards per game. Falcons 92.0. And passing yards, almost even. Lions passing yards allowed 253.5 by the Lions, 278.0 by the Falcons. Then we go to the total yards gain passing, 207 for the Lions passing and 110 rushing. Falcons 286 passing. Falcons receiving department is very dangerous. And then the rushing 102.5. That's the one mismatch that I'm looking at is the passing yards in terms of receiving. The Falcons have more passing yards average than the Lions, but other than that, it's all close. So Stafford versus Ryan. Stafford's got 6 touchdown throws, just the one interception that turned out to be the pick six, 86 yards against the Arizona Cardinals in Week 1 in the 35-23 win. Matt Ryan, 2 touchdown passes. Both Stafford, 44 of 62, and Ryan, 40 of 58, pretty much even. 573 passing yards from Ryan. Stafford, 414. It's going to come down to the leadership battle. That's going to be very even. So, Ed, your analysis on this.
To me, I think the Lions, this is their true first big test of the season, especially seeing as how the Falcons are not showing any quote-unquote Super Bowl hangover.
No.
Some will say that they should be the ones that will be the reigning defending champions this year. They just decided to run the damn football against the Patriots. So I think they're using that motivation to help kickstart their season so far. Not only them winning games, but how they've looked winning them, especially against the Packers. Quite impressive to do essentially, a repeat of what they did in the NFC Championship game. So it shows that they haven't lost a step back, to say the least. I think the big Beasley injury does hurt them as well, but they do have tremendous offensive weapons between Ryan and Julio and Deontay Freeman, and now with the developing Mohamed Sanu, it could come down to a point where those offensive weapons are just a little bit too much for the Lions to handle. And even though it's at home, even though the Lions are coming off that high, so to speak, of beating the Giants on Monday Night Football, I think the Falcons are just a different beast of a different nature, and it's going to be too much for them to overcome. And I think that the Falcons, they'll win pulling away. Let's go 35-24 as the score.
I'm going to go with 38 to 20 Falcons. The Lions defense only took advantage of 2 bad offenses, one Carson Palmer and the other Eli Manning in the Giants offense. The Falcons are like the total opposite of both the Cardinals and the Giants. The Falcons are a pretty mad team, and they've shown why they're the Super Bowl favorites. They're the defending NFC champions. They blew a 3-touchdown lead against the Patriots, who came back and won in overtime in that last Super Bowl game. So 38-20 is my prediction. Falcons win it.
Hey, at least we could say we're in first place in the division for 1 week.
Yeah, or two weeks for the first 2 weeks to sum it all up. This is a really interesting story here as we segue to the Sam Martin story written by Jeff Moss, the founder and editor-in-chief of the Detroit Sports Rag. The Lions emailed Jeff Moss, "Have a friend in Atlanta who knows people close to Calvin Johnson. Word on the street is he is set to retire at the end of this year, tired of playing football and worried about his health. Hey, have you heard anything like this?" Obviously, this is simply gossip at this point, but I assume you have the ability to poke around and see if there's any substance to this. How ironic that he could possibly pull a Barry 17 years later. And then Sam Martin injury, anonymous tip. Moss, the Sam Martin injury is intriguing as all get out, especially since it's not football related, and the plot thickens with Caldwell's tantrum when asked about it. I'll tell you this, though. Sam just moved into our neighborhood within the last year and has been seen frequently whizzing around on a skateboard, being pulled by his dog very quickly. First few times, that's where the injury occurred. First few times I thought it was just a young kid in the neighborhood till I figured out it was from Sam's house. Not sure that's it, but there's no question he could have been hurt doing such a thing. Jeff Moss got that email from I believe the Lions there, and then Moss writes, "There's only so much vetting of this rumor that one can, but I did confirm through the DSR's private investigator, that this reader of mine did have the correct home address for Lions punter Sam Martin. His story checked out regarding when Martin moved in as well. Martin purchased this home for $1,050,000 last October. Also, I can confirm Martin has a dog." There were two updates below that picture of Martin and his dog. Update number one: another DSR reader sent me this Instagram link after I posted this article, lending further credence to the wild speculation. And here's a picture on Instagram, and I follow Sam Martin on Instagram at SamMartin_6, teaching Leo how to walk me with 5 dots. I believe I don't see the skateboard, but I see him and his dog on the leash, the dog behind the trash can. But oh wait, this is a video. Oh wait, this is a skateboard. Yeah, just strolling by on the sidewalk. This is like visual evidence right there. And then update number two, Jeff Moss is being told by another reader that Martin isn't on a skateboard. I am old. That's actually a hoverboard, which I am advised is even more dangerous. A hoverboard. There's a fine line between a skateboard and a hoverboard. And that Instagram video shows what a hoverboard looks like, and that's almost like an extreme sport.
I know it's a domesticated extreme sport, basically for your own enjoyment. I remember seeing a video of how Mike Tyson slipped and fell, busted his ass on trying to ride one of those. So trust me, those are more dangerous than it looks on the surface.
Yeah, and there you go. The Sam Martin injury was not football related, and it had something to do with him walking his dog on a hoverboard. So there you go. That sums it all up. And then Lions head coach Jim Caldwell dropped a check the report before walking the podium, according to James Hawkins at James B. Hawkins. When asked how punter Sam Martin got hurt during the offseason, Caldwell checked the report. Caldwell dropped a check the report before walking off the podium. Why did comatose Caldwell lose his shit? It's because he knows that his excellent punter was acting carelessly on a skateboard, or hoverboard that is, this summer, and that's how Martin got injured? Who knows? But if the Lions continue to act mysterious about these types of injuries, this kind of speculation will continue. And Martin doing his best Tony Hawk imitation on the mean streets of Troy at Big Beaver and Adams with his puppy in tow, or dog, whichever, is as plausible as anything else, including a parasite like DeAndre Levy when flying on his plane back in 2015 in the summer. So this is like a bad omen. First, DeAndre Levy back in 2015 in the summer on a plane suffering a contracted parasite in his hip, and the Lions organization says it's a hip injury. And now Sam Martin on a hoverboard walking his dog, and he gets injured. Now, that's also not football related. Both injuries, Levy and Martin, both non-football related, and Jim Caldwell threw a tantrum about it. He was, while being asked about how punter Sam Martin got injured during the offseason.
Well, now, admittedly, there isn't official substantiated proof, like i.e. video of Martin falling down, riding a hoverboard, or riding his dog, and then that was all he got hurt. But there is some circumstantial evidence to at least show that, and of course, with Caldwell's reaction, I can understand why some people would be thinking that conclusion.
Yeah. So, those are all the details you need to know about how Sam Martin got injured. And the Lions organization doesn't want to spew that out either. That's why Jeff Moss and we want to spit that out to you, the audience. So, speaking of Jeff Moss, he wrote another article regarding Red Wings center Andreas Athanasiou. Pull that up. Headline, please, Andreas Athanasiou, go to Russia. And the tumor inside the Red Wings organization continues to be Ken Holland, of course. We are fully aware that Holland's contract expires at the end of this upcoming season, and the only hope that this team's direction and operational decisions will dramatically change is if Holland is gone. Not kicked upstairs where he still can get his tentacles on player personnel decisions removed from Olympia Entertainment entirely. But Moss will say this, though. Holland's utter fall from grace has culminated in the recent news that the team's most exciting young player, Andreas Athanasiou, is being lowballed by Holland, and the speedy forward is threatening to leave for the KHL. Now, he fully expects that AA, Andreas Athanasiou, will sign with the Wings in the near future, probably while he's writing this screed. But the fact that the negotiations have gotten to this point is an absolute disaster. The team is commencing training camp in Traverse City, which I've been at several times in the past, and one of the most gifted 5-on-5 goal scorers in the NHL is sitting at home while guys like Jonathan Ericsson and Darren Helm get ready for another season in Detroit. Nick Cronwall as well, Justin Abdelkader, Danny DeKeyser, Henrik Zetterberg, Mike Green. Holland has painted himself into this corner over the last few seasons by handing out ridiculous contracts to substandard players, and he now has to play hardball with a fan favorite, Andreas Athanasiou. there's no NHL team. Well, before that, Holland has painted himself into this corner over the last few seasons by handing out ridiculous contracts. I read that already. There's no NHL team that currently has a worse return on investment than the Wings. $75 million, not including Johan Franzen's dead space, for 24 wins in regulation last season, and even with those facts on the table, the team currently cannot afford Athanasiou's demands. But let me fit this in here. 2 nights ago, while we're doing this, they offered Andreas Athanasiou a 2-year, $3.8 million contract. Prashant Iyer, as we remember, expected a 1.25 average annual value, meaning a 2-year, $2.5 million contract. So so mathematically, the offer that they presented to Andreas Athanasiou is higher than the contract offer that Prashant Iyer expected earlier.
And this is the Wings offer, correct?
Yes, this is the current Red Wings offer right now.
Okay.
Athanasiou is still thinking it over. He has still yet to respond to accept or decline. If he declines, he goes to Russia. If he accepts, he'll try to make the Red Wings try to keep the Red Wings in a playoff chase again, I guess, whatever you may call it. And then Helene St. James, the Scarf, tweets, Wings GM Ken Holland to the Free Press RFA Andreas Athanasiou, quote, we have lots of conversations. I am not negotiating against the KHL. And Moss wrote that after this screenshot, this comment came with zero blowback from the eunuch diggers who cover this franchise for a living. Ken Holland isn't negotiating against the KHL. He is negotiating against himself. It was regarding Athanasiou. It is believed that Holland's first offer to Athanasiou was the exact deal that Xavier Ouellet received. This was the opening insult which led to this nasty negotiation. It's believed that the offer now on the table for Athanasiou is the same money Luke Glendening makes at half the term. The NHL Players Association would probably revoke the license of Athanasiou's agent if he accepted a deal comparable to that of Luke Glendening. At this point, Moss is totally hoping that Athanasiou calls Holland's bluff, leaves for the KHL, and represents Team Canada during the 2018 Olympics. Take the $3 million this season in Russia. Paul Manafort, and pray that Holland isn't the one making these sorts of decisions next offseason. But you got to keep in mind, Chris Ilitch is still the owner. You never know what the hell he's going to do with Ken Holland. Either keep him or fire him. And of course, Moss and we want the Red Wings to stink this year, and that'll be easier to accomplish when their best even-strength forward is skating for SKA St. Petersburg or HC SKA Moscow. The dream would be this: Holland's team completely bottoming out, Athanasiou leading Canada to a gold medal in Pyeongchang, South Korea, Ilitch being embarrassed by both of these events, and severing ties with kick-the-tires Kenny. There's only one thing that I want out of this coming season: the first pick in the 2018 NHL entry draft and the opportunity to select stud Swede Rasmus Dahlin. D-A-H-L-I-N. A 17-year-old defenseman who is already playing in a men's league and is drawing comparisons to Erik Karlsson and some dude named Nicholas Lidstrom. The only way to get better is to hit rock bottom. The chemotherapy is not being able to watch Double-A skate circles around opposing defensemen for a year. The potential remission is Rasmus. So there's the end of that.
Basically, the gist of it is, on all intents and purposes, plead to help ensure that the Wings tank out, go rock bottom.
Worse than the Avalanche.
Yeah, Chris tells Canada to fuck off, and then we enter another new era, so to speak.
I can't wait until they do so. Man, oh man.
Well, it'll get us out of the newer dead Wings era 2.0 much faster than what we're currently projecting, looking at right now.
Oh yeah, there you go. But speaking of which, they started their preseason at the Boston Bruins. They lose 4-2. Anthony Mantha and Dylan Larkin scored. So you can view their preseason schedule and the regular season schedule at DetroitRedWings.com to all our audience out there. Now to Chris Ilitch's other team, the Tigers.
That one is long gone.
The Tigers have acquired prospect right-handed pitcher Elvin Rodriguez as the player to be named later in the Justin Upton trade that sent Upton to the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim on August 31st, prior to the 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time deadline. Now, let me look this up here. Rodriguez is 19 years old. He's the Angels' number 22 prospect, according to MLBpipeline.com. He won the Pitcher of the Year honors in the rookie-level Pioneer League by going 5-1 with a .250 ERA in 11 starts for Orem. He finished the year at Class A Burlington, ending with a 5-3 record and .291 ERA to go with 61 strikeouts over 68 innings. That's by Jason Beck of MLB.com. He was an intentional amateur signing out of the Dominican Republic in 2014. He's the latest teenage prospect acquired by the Tigers in their rebuilding effort, joining shortstop Jose King in the J.D. Martinez trade with Arizona and Isaac Paredes from the Cubs in the July 31st trade for Justin Wilson and Alex Avila. Paredes became a late-season standout at Class A West Michigan with the Whitecaps, where Rodriguez could pitch at some point next season. So there you go. Tigers get another great prospect, or at least good. Elvin Rodriguez, a right-handed pitcher, winning a pitcher of the year honors in his rookie level in the Pioneer League for Orem. Wow.
Basically, the Tigers have to go through their own little process, so to speak. They're doing the right thing as of now, because the window more than closed long ago. This team stands to try to win the World Series with the payroll advance that they had. So it is better to sell as much as you can possible without completely going bankrupt, and then have yourself ready for as quick a rebuild as possible. Yeah, and they're doing it right by getting very good prospects after the prospects that they got in the J.D. Martinez trade, because Al Avila jumped the gun too soon before he started studying the prospect market, which he finally did. Give him credit after that mistake. So that's one area that Al Avila is finally starting to improve in. That's as far as I'm concerned. That's as far as we're concerned. And then the other news note I want to pass along to the audience, especially the Tiger fans out there. Second baseman Ian Kinsler will meet with his GM, with the team's general manager Al Avila soon to discuss his future with the Tigers. According to John Morosi, Ian Kinsler told him yesterday he plans to meet soon with Al Avila to discuss his future in Detroit. Kinsler said his willingness to waive his no-trade clause hinges on what he hears about the Tigers' off-season plan. And you can follow John Morosi on Twitter at John Morosi. This is all tweeted out. Then tweet number 3, Kinsler at 35 age has made four
4 playoff appearances, including a World Series Game 7. That was back in 2011 when the Rangers faced the Cardinals, and the Cardinals won in 7. Rangers had a 3-2 series lead going into the new Busch Stadium at that time. But reading the rest of the third tweet, Kinsler wants to win. He's acknowledged his focus drifted amid losing in 2017. So I would. This is one of our 5 questions, but just a teaser. Kinsler, there's a possibility that Ian Kinsler may leave.
Mm-hmm. You got to continue the fire sale as much as possible. That's one way to do it.
Yep. So, speaking of which, that being said, it is time for our 5-question segment. Ed, are you ready?
Ready as you are, Taylor. Go ahead and let him in.
It's time for 5 questions on the Michigan Sports Truth.
Question number 1. How can the Wolverines fare without Donovan Jeter and Tarek Black?
With Jeter, it doesn't hurt their defense too much because the rest of their defensive line is full of studs, and they're still quick and fast without Jeter as they would have had with him. So the defense will be fine. Offense, I'm a little bit intrigued to see how that goes. They've been having some problems and struggles already. So without one of their producing wide receivers, it'll creates a bit of a dilemma and a wild card of sorts that has to be paid attention to come Saturday.
Next question.
Question 2. Can the Lions' defense contain the Atlanta Falcons offense? I'd say no.
Well, the fact that we both picked the Falcons to score 30-plus points in our predictions lets you know how much faith we have the Lions defense contain that offense. Listen, seeing what they did against the Packers, and even the Bears before that, finding ways to win out of the bad struggle, I think they'll have no problem against the Lions defense, however impressive and others they may look. As of late, the Falcons are just on another level.
I agree.
Next question.
Question 3. Which punter is better for the Lions, Sam Martin or Jeff Locke?
Sam Martin is your more reliable, dependent, and veteran punter, but Locke is given his chance to prove himself. So until Martin gets back, it's Locke's job for now.
I'd still have to agree. I'm going to go with Sam Martin on this one.
Next question.
Question number 4. Will Andreas Athanasiou accept the Red Wings' 2-year, $3.8 million contract offer, or will he go to KHL in Russia?
Well, since we're looking at potentially $4 million on the table here, I think Athanasiou will probably think it was the best possible offer he'll get, and he'll take that offer instead, even though the dream scenario would be for him to tell the Red Wings that he's fucking off to Russia instead. But more than likely he'll accept the contract and stay here.
Yeah, fucking off to Russia, as Urinating Tree would say in their video Decline and Fall of an Empire, like we touched on last week.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't stop watching that video over and over again.
Yeah, I had to watch it again today, just for good measure.
Good.
Next question.
And finally, question number 5. What does the future hold for Ian Kinsler? I'd say bye-bye, because Ian Kinsler wants to win. He can't. There's evidence clearly, according to John Morosi, that Ian Kinsler cannot take losing anymore.
Kinsler still, even at his age, at this point of his career, he still has that competitive fire in him, and he wants to see if he can try to at least win a World Series before his time runs out on his sand runs out on his iron and out of his hourglass. Excuse me, boy, I've had a long night. So I think if they were able to trade away Justin Verlander, and Justin Upton and JD Martinez, what's stopping them from trying to trade Ian Kinsler? So I would not be surprised at that all in this off season that Kinsler gets dealt.
Yeah, never hurts to push the right button for Ian Kinsler. So that wraps up our 5 questions segment. And to our entire audience, if you want to answer those 5 questions, just replay that segment portion of this episode and answer them the best you can without going out of line. Now for the other segment, What's Your Grade?
Pencils down, everyone. It's time to find out what's your grade.
First event, the Red Wings offering Andreas Athanasiou a 2-year, $3.8 million contract. I mean, Ken Holland is not giving up on Andreas Athanasiou, kind of the way he never gave up on Tomas Tatar. He was able to sign Tomas Tatar to an extension. Holy mackerel!
Yeah, you know, at least you can appreciate the effort. So for that, I'm giving it a B+.
Yep, same here, B+. And finally, the Tigers acquiring right-handed pitcher Elvin Rodriguez as the player to be named in the Justin Upton trade. I would give it an A.
I'd give it A-, borderline B+, because I want to see how the kid works out first.
True. We'll see what happens with him, but well, yeah, he's got to prove it. But penning his numbers, I thought that was the right move.
We got to see the results for himself add up.
Yep. So that's our What's Your Grade segment. So for our audience, if they have grades for each event, post them in the comment bank in this episode. Please don't go out of line. So that's episode 282 of the weekend review of the Michigan Sports Truth on Spreaker. Before we sign off, we want to remind everyone to share this episode and our entire podcast on social media and have their friends share that as well, because we want to tell them that the Michigan Sports Truth podcast organization is boosting its posts of each episode from Spreaker on its Facebook page and searching for local advertising sponsors. If anyone has a business that's interested in sponsoring this program, send our Facebook page a message. Ed Smith, excellent job again. Thanks for your help. Talk to you next week.
Likewise, Taylor. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. I'm Taylor Phillips. Follow me on Twitter at DT2Phillips and Ed Smith at EdSmith313. Like and share the Michigan Sports Truth Facebook page and join its Facebook group. We'll talk to you next week on episode 283. Thanks very much for listening, downloading, and sharing TTFN. Ta-ta for now.
The hosts of the Michigan Sports Truth podcast do not take any suggestions or criticism from any member of its audience on how it should be run. It is up to the host to decide what they want to cover. They also do not intend to be any amount of popular in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Additionally, the views of the audience, right or wrong, do not reflect the actual truth revealed on this program.